You are dead. No longer bound by the mortal coil, you have slipped into what lies beyond. But there is no peace in death. You have things to do, unfinished business to take care of. There are many dangers, many obstacles keeping you from completing your task in the afterlife, and one of those threats is the Tempest. Hello, and welcome to another lore video about Wraith the Oblivion. In the last part, we talked about the dangers of specters and their cults, and in this part, we'll be talking about the ocean of the underworld, the Tempest. Once the rolling sea churned with all the colors of the soul. Once it was almost peaceful, and disturbed neither the Shadowlands nor the Labyrinth. Once the Tempest was a sedate ocean called the Sea of Shadows. Then the great maelstroms came. Now maelstroms were once singular events, large storms that erupted from the Labyrinth and affected the Sea of Shadows in something akin to a hurricane. Great maelstroms are unleashed in times of death and destruction in the mortal world. The first great maelstrom was prompted by the fall of Rome. It nearly destroyed Stygia, an incomprehensibly huge city located on the Isle of Sorrows, deep in the Tempest, and the capital of the Western Dead, when the storm slammed against Stygia's shores with a previously unknown rage. The solution was to build a seawall out of souls to protect the Isle of Sorrows from future flooding. The second great maelstrom was prompted by the Black Death, which was the plague that ravaged Europe and killed millions. The Shroud, the mystical barrier that separates the underworld from the Skinlands, the land of the living, nearly tore from the sheer weight of that many souls passing through it. The third great maelstrom was prompted by the conquest of the Americas, which was a devastating blow to indigenous peoples across an entire continent. The fourth great maelstrom came about during the Great War, also known as World War I, and the Spanish influenza pandemic. This devastating influx of souls caused a storm that shut down all the byways to traverse towards Stygia and beyond, manifesting as mustard gas, with the scent of antiseptic lingering for days after it ended. The fifth great maelstrom began as a small storm, but strengthened over time as World War II escalated. When the atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, a silent flash burst the shroud loose for a few moments, which allowed more restless dead to enter than ever before. Now the sixth great maelstrom is unique to the world of darkness, as it was caused entirely by events in the underworld rather than triggered by tragedy in the Skinlands, as previous great maelstroms were. Therefore, it deserves a video in its own right. In any case, by the time of the third great maelstrom, the Sea of Shadows became the Tempest, a constant state of storm and destructive waters. Where once it was safe to sail along without a ferryman, it is now massively treacherous. Even with the correct coin, the right words spoken, and the proper directions given, it is still dangerous to go without one who would guide you safely across, above, or below. Hurricanes of glass, vortices of vengeful, confused souls, and tsunamis of magma swell through the waters and destroy those who do not know how to cross safely. Without a guide, a soul will be lost or destroyed. There are many parts to the Tempest: lakes of cold fire, islands that are home to the hungriest of specters, and shadows of sirens who call out to any who will listen. The Tempest sometimes looks calm. At other times it looks as though shards of glass have crashed together, sharp waves crusting over it, catching and slicing souls to shreds. Faces pulse and scream in the waters. Hands grasp and clench up at whatever is floating on the surface. Whirlpools often appear out of nowhere and suck boats and wraiths swimming alone down into the deep. Sometimes they are traditional whirlpools, but others are made of flame or acid. For some restless, the Tempest is not a transitional space where passages are made and storms are dodged. Instead, it is their home. There are many archipelagos, islands, and peninsulas for would-be residents to claim, but the process is difficult. There are many things already living on those islands, communities of extinct or mythical creatures, all of which make a wraith's afterlife harder, more complicated, and significantly less pleasant. The Tempest is a place that conjures fear, horror, and loneliness in the face of wretched terror. This is a place where a wraith's shadow can sing the song of a siren and lure them into a whirlpool that tears them apart. This is a place that can unmoor one from the fetters that might be most important to a wraith. In each era, humanity did something that changed the Tempest, and usually for the worse. Even without the influence of the living, the Tempest is a vast hollow abyss, and when it shifts, one can never predict the way that the wind might blow. In the next Wraith the Oblivion lore video, we'll discuss the endless maze all Wraith sphere, the Labyrinth. I make videos multiple times a week, and every Wednesday is either Werewolf or Wraith Wednesday, so if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Remember, Restless Dead, life can get worse after it ends.